Testosterone. It's been long associated with aggression, but how strong is this association? And is there one at all? Today I'm going to do a deep dive and see if I can get to the bottom of it. Stick around. Hi everyone, I am the Lab Mouse and welcome to today's video. There's quite a few new followers, so I want to say welcome to everyone. I really enjoyed reading the comments in the previous video. They were all around really constructive and very respectful, which is awesome considering that the topic of sex and gender can sometimes get a little heated. So thank you so much for that and welcome. Anyway, today I'm going to talk about the sex-related hormone testosterone. Testosterone probably doesn't need that much of an introduction as it's a molecule that's really made its way into pop culture. But a question that I see come up a lot is the relationship between testosterone and aggression, especially in humans. There's tons of studies on it in humans and mice, and there's a lot of different answers to this question. And I just want to go through a little bit of the existing evidence, see if we can parse through any of the data and get to the bottom of anything. If you have any additional sources or studies that I did not mention, I would love if you link them in the comments. Starting off with where the scientists started off, non-human primates. It's been long established that testosterone in male primates is associated with a higher social rank. And a higher social rank is associated with more aggression and dominant behavior in these male monkeys. So that's where people started off thinking, oh, there must be a link between testosterone and aggression. So this led to a lot of people trying to make the same connection in human studies. Many of the most popular of these studies took place in a prison. And with prison studies, you have to watch out for ulterior motives, especially in the many attempts to villainize minority populations, especially Black individuals. But not even going into those, I think there's still some experimental issues with a few of the studies that I'll point out along the way. One study by Dabbs and colleagues in the 1990s noted a strong correlation between testosterone and aggression, saying, regardless of gender, the most violent prisoners have the highest level of testosterone. However, the way they described violent prisoners included everything from cursing out the guards to stealing extra food rations. Basically, any action that warranted a disciplinary response was deemed as a violent action, and then salivary testosterone was tested in correlation with that. Another study by Dabbs looked at the supposed toughness of prisoners in relationship to testosterone. They found that prisoners who were determined to be tougher also had higher testosterone levels, but this was only true in the younger prisoners. In older prisoners, there was not that same correlation between testosterone and toughness. Now, that's already sort of weird given that testosterone is naturally higher in younger males due to developmental factors, but let's look at the use of the word toughness. It was a ranking of toughness given by the guards, which, if you ask me, is not the best way to get replicable results. I mean, the same prisoner might be deemed tough to one guard and weak to another. So, two of the more popular studies in humans with weak to questionable correlations between aggression and testosterone. Now, I don't want to dish on these studies too much because the researchers generally did the best they could. There was pretty good statistical analysis used throughout the study. But the thing about human research is that it'll just never be that strong because it's correlational by nature. To show you what I mean by this, the most classic example of a correlational study is that ice cream sales are correlated with shark attacks. They both go up in the summer. But logic can tell us that ice cream sales are not causing shark attacks or vice versa. They're just both associated with hot weather of the summer. They are certainly correlated, but not causative. That's how it is with human studies. You can't control all of the variables, so by nature, you're just going to be looking at the correlation between two things and not the causative effect of one thing on another. All this to say is human studies are imperfect by nature. They are just never going to be as robust as animal studies. So maybe doing human studies is just not the right move. Maybe the answer lies in animal studies. Unlike with humans, we can't control every variable in, say, a mouse's life. Their access to water, their housing situation, social interactions, every possible confounding variable we can control. So ideally, we can actually make some causative claims about the effects of testosterone. One interesting study took naturally aggressive female mice and naturally non-aggressive female mice and treated them both with daily testosterone. The naturally aggressive mice treated with testosterone became more aggressive the more they fought with other mice, while the unaggressive mice were unaffected by testosterone. Sort of a complicated interaction, but basically demonstrating that testosterone does in fact stimulate aggression, but only when a social interaction and genetic predisposition is there in the mouse. So a causative effect, albeit a complicated one. I could talk about a lot of other mice studies, but honestly they get kind of complicated and start to get repetitive. I think the main takeaway with mice studies is that the relationship between testosterone and aggression is complicated. It needs other factors, especially social factors like exposure to other aggressive animals, in order for it to actually be a mediator for aggression. Given the complexity of human social structures and our genetic predispositions that differ greatly from mice, I don't think these mice studies are super applicable to figuring out the story of human testosterone and aggression, so I'm going to move on to other species. One species that really adds a whole nother dimension to the testosterone story is the spotted hyena. In most species, testosterone is higher in males, but in the spotted hyena, females are actually the ones with more testosterone. They also tend to be the more aggressive ones. There even seems to be a correlation between more aggressive females and higher testosterone levels. This to me is one of the most effective supports for the role of testosterone and aggression because despite this gender flip, we still see a social rank / aggression related correlation with testosterone. Moving even further away from humans, birds too have demonstrated a pretty clear link with testosterone and aggression. The thing with all these animal studies, though, is that they are animal studies. They have much simpler social structures than humans have and are much more driven by instinct and aggression than humans are. The most aggressive hyena is probably going to be the leader, but the most aggressive human is not necessarily going to be a group leader. They might even have antisocial outcomes as a result of their aggression. Additionally, human studies are starting to find a closer link between testosterone and dominance rather than testosterone and aggression, meaning that your social ranking is more associated with testosterone than your aggression is. So that's why I'm so confused about the human story of testosterone and aggression. In animals, there seems to be a pretty clear correlation between the two, but human studies have just not been able to replicate those results. Maybe due to their correlational nature or due to our social complexity, but we just haven't gotten a clear answer on whether that same effect of testosterone is seen in humans. I think it honestly comes down to the social complexity of humans that complicates the testosterone story. There's so much more going on with human behavior than just the physiological controlling factors. You could sort of relate this to nature versus nurture, where the nurturing or the social interactions that we are brought up with have much more impact on our aggression than our natural testosterone levels. I would highly warn against making bold claims regarding what testosterone is doing in terms of aggression in humans. Without extremely solid evidence, we just cannot make conclusions about the behavioral effects of testosterone. If you have any studies that I didn't cover, I would love to read them and see if we can piece together any more of this story. I sort of took a risk exploring this topic, knowing that I wouldn't be able to make any strong conclusions regarding the true nature of testosterone in humans. So thank you for coming along with me on this journey. I have one more video in my sex series, and I hope you will join me for it.